Greetings viewers. In this video I'm going to be talking about social sciences on college campuses and the way they try to deconstruct everything.
Everything is sexist, everything is racist, everything is homophobic, and you have to point it all out.
If you visit a Ponzi restaurant, which to be honest would have made the line in the Sinead O'Connor song a little more accurate, you will often get to see dishes on the menu that are deconstructed. To do my best impression of voiceovers on the British cooking show MasterChef, a chicken pie becomes a deconstructed game pie served with raw pastry on a bed of a liquid nitrogen frozen rocket leaf. The culinary world often reaches such a baffling level of perceived artistry that you often wonder if diners are afraid to touch the meals they're served. What happens when you deconstruct something? The constituent parts of an object or construct get slowly taken apart, picked to pieces, and yes, it's okay if you imagine vultures when I said that. The idea is to seek the very bones of the piece in question that we dissect, boring down through flesh and blood, so all the building blocks in place for assemblage come away in neat little bits, at least on the surface.
Oh, hello, Susan. A slight problem. I was a bit bored, so I dismantled my Corby trouser press. I can't put it back together again. Will that show up on my bill? Right, thanks.
Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. All the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty together again. To deconstruct something often means to break it to pieces. Harking back to my earlier gastronomic metaphor, with a Humpty Dumpty garnish thrown in. Break an egg, and often the chef needs to separate the white from the yolk. The shell fractures into countless pieces. The albumin white is sundered from the yolk, banishing any potential for all meaningful existence, just to assuage the fleeting need for someone's hunger. Although sounding rather dramatic, and a deconstructed banoffee pie can look stunning, it defeats the object of, well, the object. Here we arrive at the crux of the matter, folks. The idea of deconstruction is now an idea that puts other ideas at risk, chiefly in the academic realm of social sciences. After all, a clock deconstructed cannot tell the time. So, in the deconstructed world of social sciences, would time even exist? Because time ages people. Age is not a nice thing to have to experience. Is age problematic? Would it hurt the sentiments of the SJW students?
Everyone likes me and thinks I'm great in my safe space.
My safe space.
People don't judge me and haters don't hate in my safe space.
Your safe space.
Bully-proof windows, troll-safe doors, nothing but kindness in here.
You might call me a pussy, but I won't hear you in my safe space. My safe space.
Bully-proof windows.
I studied film at university. Several times a week, our class had an entire afternoon dedicated to the history and analysis of TV and cinema, something many of my contemporaries found annoying, but I actually loved. Not only did the lectures involve discussing and often watching films, we were also taught to analyse the subtext and meaning of cinema. So I know firsthand how social, psychological, historical and philosophical lenses focus on the motions of a film reel, going out towards a projector and into our eyes, ears, minds and hearts, taking apart the projector, if you will, into its subsequent little pieces instead of looking at the whole.
See, a movie doesn't come all on one big reel. It comes on a few. So someone has to be there to switch the projectors at the exact moment that one reel ends and the next one begins. If you look for it, you can see these little dots come into the upper right-hand corner of the screen.
In the industry, we call them cigarette burns.
That's the cue for a changeover. He flips the projectors, movie keeps right on going, and nobody in the audience has any idea.
One of the leading theories we learned in these classes was Laura Mulvey's visual pleasure in narrative cinema. In this essay, she coins the term the male gaze, and she uses Freudian readings of a movie and applies it to a movie theatre. Mulvey actually taught my lecturer, and she goes so far as to describe the projector acting as a phallus that penetrates the theatre that is a womb cavity. But if you think that's out there, Barbara Creed really ups the ante in her book, The Monstrous Feminine. Creed really must have smoked some sticky herb before sitting at her writing desk, because she goes on a rant where she describes the movie Alien with a plethora of vaginal symbolism in the film. It goes from the crew of the Nostromo awakening in their hypersleep pods that resemble wombs or seed pods, all the way up to the doorways in the abandoned ship they investigate resembling vaginas. Creed even goes on to compare the facehugger eggs as fetishistic gametes, with the alien as a fetish mother object. So the xenomorph and even the Nostromo ship's computer itself, which is called Mother, represent an archaic mother of primitive, primeval, base past of our human history.
Get away from her, you bitch!
As a student in my 20s, I thought these ideas were actually funny, and I took great pleasure into moulding outlandish arguments from them. I got top marks for an essay once by comparing the 40s film noir Mildred Pierce to Alien. So I think my humorous approach to these arguments inoculated me somewhat to their brainwashing effect, as a sense of humour can be a natural pinch of salt. Although it appears a great deal of modern students are baptised in the social science Kool-Aid instead of merely just drinking it.
White feminism excludes the experiences of basically anyone who's not white, cis, and straight.
Here's why that's so problematic.
First, it assumes the way white women experience misogyny is the way all women experience misogyny, and that's just not true.
White feminism aims to close the wage gap between men and women, but what it fails to recognize is that most of the time, Latina and Black women make even less than white women.
The high priest of sociology, Noam Chomsky, whose background lies in philosophy and linguistics, which are different to the modern social sciences, because linguistics breaks down languages, their structure and origins. Philosophy aims to examine the world, knowledge, people and emotion through abstract thought. Linguistics and philosophy try to understand the culture, and the rest of social sciences are deconstructions of these original academic areas. They also borrow a little bit from anthropology, history, and psychology as well sometimes. But unlike philosophy, linguistics, and the other areas of study, offshoots such as gender studies, African studies, and so on attempt to unpack society itself, as opposed to formulating questions and studies of how the world works. Using sociological, feminist, and Marxist constructs that Marx himself tried to use to examine the means of production, they apply it not just to a random essay, but to life itself. And they go out into the wider world and apply these to their jobs and their relationships. So they drip down into journalism, politics, teaching, especially teaching. And what drives this need? Meaning for relevance, perhaps, to alter the political dogma and zeitgeist, definitely. Even the great Chomsky himself claims that social sciences, with their theories and deconstructing of reality, attempt to ape the hard sciences like STEM that actually do look to study reality and break down the fabric of the universe to be able to understand it, when really social science theories are nothing more than thought farts.
You got these guys in the physics department and the math department, and they have all kind of complicated theories, which of course we can't understand, but they seem to understand them. And they have, principles, and they deduce complicated things from the principles, and they do experiments, and they find either they work or they don't work, and that's really impressive stuff. So I want to be like that too. So I want to have a theory. In literary, in the humanities, you know, literary criticism, anthropology, and so on, there's a field called theory. We're just like the physicists. They talk incomprehensibly, we can talk incomprehensibly. They have big words, we'll have big words. They draw, you know, far-reaching conclusions, we'll draw far-reaching conclusions. We're just as prestigious as they are. Now, if they say, well, look, we're doing real science and you guys aren't, that's white, male, sexist, you know, bourgeois, whatever the answer is. How are we any different from them? Okay, that's appealing.
Social science takes the notion that everyone has an opinion to its extreme. I mean, opinions are like arseholes. Everyone has one, and many of them stink.
Don't commit your hate crimes here! Hate crimes!
Why is it that women appear to be worse at math than men? What is the source of this illusion? Or as I call it, the biggest lie ever told?
You're a worse version of Hitler!
Please believe me, I understand the problems of women. See?
The principal's a tranny!
Am I wearing women's clothes? I didn't notice. When I look in my closet, I don't see male clothes or female clothes. They're all the same.
Are you saying that men and women are identical?
No, of course not. Women are unique in every way.
Now he's saying women and men aren't equal.
No. It's the differences, of which there are none, that make the sameness exceptional. Just tell me what to say.
Now let's buckle down and do some math.
Yes!
How do numbers make you feel? What does a plus sign smell like? Is the number 7 odd or just different?
Are we gonna do any actual math problems?
Problems? That's how men see math, something to be attacked, to be figured out.
But isn't it? I mean, confidence building can't replace real learning.
Uh-oh, Lisa. Sounds like you're trying to derail our self-esteem engine. Let's sing it back on the tracks.
The best thing I can ever be is to be okay with me. Me!
But that doesn't mean that an abandoned spaceship has cunt-shaped doors, though. But what do you think? Please remember to comment and like, share and subscribe, and remember, don't roll your eyes too much. They may well fall out of your head.